Hello there, my name is Alex Bohaska, and this video is going to be looking at how to use Edpuzzle and YouTube for distance learning. But before I get into that, I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. So as I mentioned, my name is Alex Bohaska, but I tend to just go by Mr. B. I'm a special education and psychology teacher at WoCoTech High School. I earned my Master's of Art in Psychology from Indiana State University, and then my Master's of Education in Special Education from University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. I am a proud father of 3, and these are my 3, and I'm someone who likes to have fun. I have always been excited by learning, excited by knowledge. I will always want to do more things and learn more things, and it's been my hope as an educator to bring that same excitement out of my students, whether it's through engaging videos, which I'll be showing you how to do today, or, for those that are in class, making elephant toothpaste to help teach the scientific method. And if you don't know what elephant toothpaste is, you should look it up. It's very easy to make and a lot of fun, but make sure to have napkins. Anyway, what we're going to be talking about in this video, and what I hope you will get by the end of this video, is how to better engage virtual students. So students that are still learning from home, or students that, missed a day of school and, they're trying to make it up. A way of having a more engaging way than just having them watch a video. And the way that I'm going to be teaching that is, first, I'm going to be talking about Edpuzzle. And I'm going to explain what Edpuzzle is, where you can find it, how we then use it, and then some various tips and tricks and things to know based off of my own experiences using it in my class and from getting feedback from my students. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing, but with YouTube. So I'm going to say what YouTube is, where you can find it, how we use it, and then various tips and tricks and things to know, again, based off of my own experiences using it in my classroom and getting feedback from my students. And the very last thing that I'll do is just give some very broad advice of things that have helped me in creating a more engaging virtual classroom and to help me kind of get through the kind of distance learning and distance teaching. So what is Edpuzzle? If we go on Edpuzzle's website, what they say is that Edpuzzle is an easy-to-use platform allowing you to engage every student one video at a time. And essentially what that means, and what it boils down to, is you are able to create or find videos and add questions to them. So then it is more engaging for your students. And why is it so important to have videos when we're teaching? Well, if you go on Edpuzzle's website, they did some research, and it was found that 65% of students are visual learners. And so having these videos is important because it helps students learn visually. It has also been found that 95% or more of your students watch YouTube regularly. It's a very well-known platform. And so videos are a very powerful resource for teaching. But oftentimes it's very difficult to hold students accountable. I've had this happen to me in class where I assign a video for students to watch, and students will pull it up, but then they might be on their phone, they might be getting distracted, and it's very hard to tell if a student actually watched it and was able to comprehend what was being said in the video. And so what Edpuzzle does is, by the use of having questions in there, it holds students accountable and also helps to keep them engaged. Now, where can we find Edpuzzle? The easiest place to find it is, of course, on the website, edpuzzle.com. And if you haven't gone there before, it's an easy way to sign up. You just hit sign up, you enter your email address, you're in. If you work at Worcester County Public Schools, from my understanding, it should already be linked to your school email. You might still have to sign up. I'm not quite sure. But if you go there, I would recommend that you use your school email. Because then you will have full access to all of the various features that I will be talking about. Whereas when it is a free account, there are limitations to like how many videos you can make, but it should be linked to your school email. But of course that is a question to make sure to ask your school. And then once you have an account, what it'll look like is this. So if you go to Edpuzzle, it will take you to your content, and you'll be able to see all the videos that you personally have made. Another place where you can find Edpuzzle, and it's why it's so useful in our county, is Schoology. So Edpuzzle is, in a sense, linked with Schoology, which makes it so easy to interact and to make content for your students. And how that looks on Schoology, if you go to one of your classes, you will see on kind of the left-hand side a thing that says Edpuzzle, and if you click on it, it'll look something like this. And again, if you've used videos before through Edpuzzle, it'll show you the ones that you have assigned to your class. And then, as we'll see later, it'll show you if there's any assignments that still need to be graded. It'll let you know how many students have done it. And then it gives you a little bit more information as well. But that's where you can find Edpuzzle. But then how do we use Edpuzzle? Again, going off of what Edpuzzle itself says, and I'm going to move myself temporarily, we unlock the power of videos through simple editing tools and dazzling student data. The process is simple. Find a video, add questions, and assign it to your class. Watch as they progress and hold them accountable on their learning journey. I wanted to add kind of one more thing to this, because in addition to finding a video, you can also create your own video, which can make it a little bit more engaging. It takes a little bit more time, but that's an option as well. A lot of times what individuals do, though, is they find videos that are already available, that already have questions, and you can use those. And there are some advantages and some disadvantages to using Edpuzzles. So things that I found very useful, and then some things that I found not so useful. So, useful things about Edpuzzle. It's fast. What's so nice is, again, the questions are right there in the video, so everything is all in one place. You assign it on Schoology, it's right there. All a student has to do is click on it, and boom, they can do that assignment. It's nice and fast. It provides visuals. So as we mentioned, again, visuals are very important towards learning. They're a very useful resource, and this is an excellent way to have visuals. There's also a vast variety. As I will show, you're able to find videos from YouTube to then turn into Edpuzzles. And so there's tons of different videos to choose from, and again, videos that you can create as well. You can also personalize it. So again, not only by making your own videos, but by the questions that you add, you can make it very specific to your class. Also, it holds students accountable. So as we mentioned earlier, it's hard to tell if a student is really getting the content from just watching a video. And so through having the questions in the video itself, not only is a student kind of required to pay attention to the video, but it also helps with, the results of it for us to know if they're getting the material or not. Through talking to my students, I've also found that it's more engaging. Students have told me that, it helps to keep them focused on the video, and especially if it's a personalized video that addresses the students directly, it helps to keep them engaged and make it feel like they really are speaking with their teacher, even though they may be virtual. Also, there is a feature on Edpuzzle that prevents students from skipping, because sometimes when we assign videos to students, they'll just, kind of quickly go through it and they won't watch the entire thing. With Edpuzzle, I will show you, there is a feature where students can't do that. They have to watch the whole video, or it won't count it as completed. And then finally, it grades automatically, with the exception of written responses or open-ended questions, which I'll be showing. So if you have multiple choice questions that you're adding, again, not only is it linked through Schoology, but it will also, when they complete it, grade it automatically and put it right into your gradebook, which is wonderful. It makes our lives a little bit easier. Now, some cons that I've discovered just from using it in my class. If you're making your own videos, it can take a little bit more time, because of course you have to record your own video, then you have to upload it, wait for it to upload, then you have to add your own questions, and then you assign it on Schoology. It takes a little longer, but again, it helps to make it more engaging, but, a little time consuming. Also, there's limited features. So one example that I've noticed is you can't assign multiple attempts, at least of the time that I'm making this video. Again, new features are added all the time. But that's one thing that I wish that I had it, that, if a student didn't get a good score on it, that then they can take it again. Now, that can be done, but you as the teacher have to unsubmit it, so then they can do another attempt. There's no way of doing it automatically. So there's some limitations to the features. Also, you have to assign it to each of your classes on Schoology individually. A lot of times what I do with my classes is I'll put all of the assignments, all of the attendance and things like that in one class, and then I'll just copy it over to my other classes. That unfortunately doesn't work with Edpuzzle. If you try to copy an Edpuzzle from one class to the other, that class will get an error message when they try to do that video. So that, it takes a little bit longer because you have to remember to add it and assign it. Again, that might change in the future, but as of the time of this video, it's one of the kind of downsides of using Edpuzzle. And then finally, sometimes finding a specific video to use can be a little tricky. So like you might have in mind, I saw this wonderful YouTube video and, I want to make that one into an Edpuzzle. You can't just have the link and then paste it over. You have to search for it, and sometimes it's a little tricky to find a specific video that you're looking for. But that being said, there's still tons to choose from. And so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to have you take a look at it. So, taking myself out, and if we go into Edpuzzle, and I'm going to move myself a little bit, again, it'll look a little something like this. So, as you can see, there are videos that I've already made for my class. It shows how long each video is. It shows how many questions there are. And then it'll also let you know if they are, this is a new feature, Edpuzzles that were made essentially in Edpuzzle, or as you can see, sometimes there's ones that I pull from YouTube or I pull from another source. And so this might not be new information to you, but I want to make sure to just go over it. But if you are using Edpuzzle, if you are using your own video, all you need to do is go to where it says Add Content, and then you can either create a video where you record it right here in Edpuzzle. It uses like your webcam, it'll record you, and then you go from there. Or if you've already made a video and you just want to turn it into an Edpuzzle, you can upload it. Another way that you can do it is by searching. So you can either go to the home menu and then just search, or you can go by popular channels. So like Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks, or what a lot of individuals use, YouTube. And so let's say that I want to do, I'm a psychology teacher, I want to do a video about psychology. I would just search psychology, see what comes up. Here we go, it's a crash course video about an introduction to psychology. You go in there, and this is where it gets fun, and this is where it gets easy. It shows the video, you can kind of preview it, you can see, if you really do like it, if you want to use it. But also if you scroll down, you can see that there are 1,894 versions of this video. And what this means is a lot of individuals have already taken this video and made it into an assignment. And so you can see kind of who made what, how long it is, and how many questions they have. And then if they've added any audio notes to it, that's there as well. So you can click on those, you can watch them. If you're happy with the questions, boom, add it to your content and you can add it to your class. What I recommend though is that you make your own questions. And the easiest way to do this is once you have found the video that you want to copy it. And so in the bottom right, if you hit copy, it'll say that it's been copied to your content. And so then, oops, I hit a sign, I apologize for that. If you go to, there we go, your Edpuzzle, and you go to your content, you'll see that that video is now in your content. And if you go in, you can then edit it. And so if you hit edit, there are various features that you can do. So these are the kind of editing tools that Edpuzzle talks about. The first one is cutting. All that this means is that you can take things out of the video. So, right now it's 10 minutes long, 10 minutes, 54 seconds. I might not need all of the information in this video. There might just be one specific part that I'm like, this is exactly what I need to tell my students, what I need to teach them. And so what you can do is you can take the content and you can drag it. There we go. And so let's say, only the second half of the video is what I need to show them. You scroll it, anything that's in the blue, that's what's going to be assigned. And again, you can hit play, you can see if you like it, you can adjust it from the back as well. Now you have your new version, your new cut of this video. You can also do voiceovers. But this is more for your own content. Because since obviously a YouTube video is not your own, you can't really, talk over it. It's not your material to really edit in that way. Like, you can cut it because it's not adding anything new, but you can't do voiceovers anymore. This is a new feature. But with voiceovers, it's more like, let's say that you are a math teacher, and so you're kind of showing how to solve a problem, and you just have a video of you doing it. Or let's say that, the audio isn't very good on a video that you have. You can provide a voiceover for it where you talk over what's being done. But what most people use with Edpuzzle is the questions section. And so with this, what you do is you can go throughout the video. Let's say, that right here, the video is talking about the definition of psychology. I can then add a multiple choice question where I can ask, what is psychology? And then I can give, various definitions, obviously one right, one wrong. And what happens is then you just select which one is the right answer. Things to know about this. Sometimes you might have questions that multiple answers are correct. And so you do the same thing. Let's just say that, both of those options would be correct. You select them both as correct. But keep in mind that there isn't partial credit. So they have to get kind of all of the options correct, or else it's counted as incorrect. So again, another kind of drawback. A lot of times, if I'm using multiple choice questions, I choose ones that really only have one correct answer to keep it simple. So that's multiple choice ones, and then you would just, when you have it in, you would save it. Again, this is just a test. So I'm going to say, there we go. And then I save. Now it has a question. And so it'll pop up for students at that exact moment. They answer it, and then they continue on. There we go. Another thing that you can make is an open-ended question. And this is one where, again, you type, let's see, how are you feeling about psychology? You type some sort of open-ended question, and then what will happen for students is a box will come up where they can type in their answer. This is one of the instances where it will not grade it for you automatically. You will have to go in, read what the student put, and then grade it accordingly. So keep that in mind if you're doing an open-ended question. Usually if I do one, I tend to have one at the end of my videos that just say, do you have any questions, comments, concerns? Is there anything you didn't understand, to get a better idea? But then once you are happy with the questions that you have made, you then can also, up here, you can change the title. So if you took one from YouTube, it'll just use the title of that YouTube video. But I don't need to say that it's a crash course thing. I can just say it's an intro to psychology. One thing that I also recommend in the title, just so students know and it helps to get them engaged, say how long the video is. So this is a 3-minute long video. I look at it, 3.5. I like to round down so it doesn't look like it's as long. Save the title. And then when you hit finish, your updated, edited version is now there in your content. So if and it's actually, there we go. If I go to my content, you will now see the edited one. That's 3 minutes and 35 seconds, and then 2 questions. Sorry, it's in my content. There we go. And so when we go to Schoology, how this will look is you go to where you want to put the assignment. So it's just like if you're doing any other assignment, you're assigning it to Schoology. Let's say that I want to assign this Friday. You go to Add Material, and as you'll see, it says Edpuzzle. And when you click that, what that will do is it will bring up, again, the same content that you just saw on Edpuzzle, it brings here. And so there's the video that I just made. If you want to assign it, you have to hit the watch button. Sometimes I've found, and it took me a while to figure it out, it's like, all right, where's the assign button? You hit watch first because it helps you to kind of preview it if you want to preview it. But if you're happy with it, you just hit assign. This is where the one option is if you want to prevent skipping. So again, it means that they have to watch the entire video. And then if you're happy with those settings, you hit assign, and there you go. Now it has been assigned to your Schoology class. But you're not quite done yet. And this is another important thing to remember. Right now, the grading isn't set up. Because, you haven't put how many points it's out of, what category is it in. So one thing you always need to remember with Edpuzzles is you just need to go into Edit, and then down here where it says Enable Grading. And so this will let you know, how many points you want to put it out of, when it's due, if you use due dates, what category to put it in. And one thing that I always recommend is, if there's 2 questions in it, make it worth 2 points or 20 points. Because then when it grades it, it tends to give you a nice even score. But let's say that you just want all classwork and every assignment to be out of 50 points. You can do that too, and it'll just give a percentage. So if they get, 1 out of the 2 questions right, they'll get a 25%. So it knows to do that. Then you save changes. Oops, sorry, I forgot to put the category. Classwork. And there you go. Now it is available to students. They will see it. They can click on it. It'll show them a video. They hit play. They watch through it. When they get to a certain point, question pops up. They answer it, and they're good. So that's kind of Edpuzzle. And there we go. And that's kind of how Edpuzzle works. But that isn't the whole picture, because there are some tips and tricks that I have learned from my experiences using Edpuzzle in my class and then getting feedback from my students. And so I've already mentioned this one, but again, make sure that you are adding the class or adding the Edpuzzle to each class individually. If you try to copy it over, it won't work for the other classes. And also then make sure that you enable the grading, and then you can put in your grade due dates and all of that, or else again, the students will get an error message. If a student ever tells you, hey, the Edpuzzle isn't working, chances are one of those 2 things, not having assigned it individually to the class or not enabling the grading, is probably what happened. When you're looking at the Edpuzzle website versus the Edpuzzle on Schoology, you want to use the website to create things. That's when you're looking up the videos, you're adding the puzzles, you're cutting the video, changing the title, all of that. The Schoology side of it, again, is just assigning it, but also monitoring it. And as I mentioned, if there is an open-ended question, it won't grade that automatically. And so I did this on purpose. If you go to your Edpuzzles, you will see in my class right now that the assignment that I assigned yesterday, or Friday, depending on when you're watching this, I haven't gone in and graded the open-ended questions that I put. So if it's multiple choice, it grades automatically, you're fine. But open-ended questions, it doesn't grade because you have to go in, see what a student wrote, and grade it accordingly. So what I always recommend is make sure, like maybe once a week or twice a week, quickly go into Edpuzzle, make sure that you're not missing any assignments that need to be graded, because it won't update their grade. It will put in any points for the multiple choice. So let's say I had 2 multiple choice questions and 1 open-ended, and the student got them all right. They'd have a 2 out of 3 until I grade that last one. But that's what it would look like. Back to this. The next thing has to do with the length of the video. And I have found in the past that when I have videos that exceed 9 minutes long, students don't click on it, or far fewer students actually do the assignment. And so what I recommend, if it's elementary school, middle school, try to keep it under 9 minutes. High school, again, if you get into more of the upperclassmen, like 11th graders, 12th graders, and depending on the class that they're in, maybe up to 15 minutes. But I try my best to keep it under 10, so like 9 or fewer. Because that seems to, more students essentially tend to do the assignment. When it's too long, a lot of times they keep pushing it back and they never do it. So if it can be reduced, reduce it down. And that's why that cutting feature on Edpuzzle is so useful. Because sometimes, like especially with YouTube videos, at the end of the video, it's like, subscribe to my channel. Students don't need that part of the video. Another thing that I've discovered that really helps to keep students engaged and to have them actually do the assignment is to have a question about every minute. Because I found in the past that if I had an Edpuzzle and a question didn't pop up until the very end of the video, and it was like an 8-minute long video, a student would lose focus and they wouldn't want to do it and they would just leave. And so if you have a question though after every minute, They just have to watch 60 seconds of the video, and then boom, there's a question. Then another 60 seconds, boom, there's a question. It helps to keep students more engaged, and it makes the video seem shorter. Additionally, again, like having how long the video is in the title, like if it's a 5-minute long video, but you don't have that mentioned, a student might think it's a much longer assignment. But if you're like, here's the video, 5 minutes, they'll be like, oh, 5 minutes, I can do that. And they're more likely to go in. If you're using other people's videos, watch it first, look at the questions, and edit them as needed. Because sometimes what teachers will do is, again, they'll have very personalized questions that relate to their class that don't necessarily relate to other classes. And so sometimes this can cause confusion. And I've had students that say, like, I was watching the Edpuzzle video, but it didn't mention what the question was asking. And sometimes that's true, because it was something that the teacher that made that Edpuzzle had already talked about. So always make sure to watch the videos first, and then edit it as necessary. When you have questions, if you can, and especially if you're making your own videos, verbalize the questions. When you make the questions as well, you can also add a recording, and you can read the question. It's been found, and again, as a special ed teacher, that students that have below grade level reading don't like Edpuzzles when there's questions that aren't read aloud, because a lot of times they struggle with reading what that question is, and they get really confused. And so making sure that you are verbalizing those questions, right before the question pops up, or having it so it plays the question when the question pops up, helps to make sure to include every student of every learning capacity. So keep that in mind. And then again, personalize it if you can. I know it takes a little bit more effort to record your own videos or to add your own questions, but it really helps to engage students because it feels like it was made for them. And because it's personalized, it makes more sense to how your class is set up. And so it's easier for them to understand. So it takes a little bit more effort in the beginning, but ultimately it takes less effort because the students are more engaged, they're doing the assignments more often, they're understanding it better. And once you have those videos, again, you can then use your own videos in multiple classes. And then the very last thing, if you have a video, so let's say that you've recorded your Zoom meetings because there's students that can't make the Zooms, and sometimes the Zooms are very long. If it's longer than, again, like 9 minutes or, maybe longer than 15 minutes, I recommend that you don't use Edpuzzle. In fact, if the video itself is bigger than, I think, a gigabyte, you can't even upload it. What I recommend then is that you use YouTube, which we'll be talking about now. So what is YouTube? If you haven't heard about it, it is a platform, it is online. It's a video sharing service where users can create their own profile, upload videos, and then watch, like, and comment on other videos. And what YouTube, it says, describes itself as, is enjoy the videos and music you love, upload original content, and share it all with friends, family, and the world on YouTube. And so essentially all this is saying is it's a place to put videos, not only to watch other people's videos and then comment on them and do all sorts of things, but you also get to put your own videos. And so it's a good place of storing videos, I have found, as a teacher. Where can you find YouTube? This one is kind of a no-brainer. You go to youtube.com. So, youtube.com. It'll look something like this, and again, this is what it looks like if you have your own channel. If you don't, again, similar to Edpuzzle, you just sign up with an email address, give your channel a name, and there you go. So that's where YouTube is. Now, how is YouTube used? I will say as a disclaimer, let me move myself again. There we go. Like Edpuzzle, you can find pre-made videos. So again, vast amount of videos. You can search for anything and I'm sure you'll find something. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going into that. What this video is all about is how you can use it for your own videos to make your videos more engaging. And so, again, how you use it is you sign up for it if you haven't already, you make an account, and then you start uploading your videos, which I'll show you how that looks very shortly. And just like with Edpuzzle, there are some benefits and some kind of negative things that I've encountered through using YouTube in my classes. Some benefits and some pros is that, again, it's fast and easy. So much, you just go in, you search for something, you find a link, you share that link. It's also more accessible. I've found sometimes that students that don't have a very strong internet connection struggle to get on Edpuzzle. It struggles to load, it takes forever to start, and it's very frustrating. YouTube, on the other hand, the videos tend to work quicker. They tend to load faster. And so I found that with some of my students that can't do the Edpuzzles, I'll upload my videos on YouTube as well. And while they won't have the questions, they can see the YouTube videos and then answer the questions in a different way. So it's kind of a way of helping with students that might have some connectivity issues. So it works when Schoology, sometimes doesn't. It's also well known. You don't really have to teach most students how to use YouTube. A lot of them, as I've mentioned, 95%, given the one research, know how to use YouTube and they use it frequently. And again, vast variety, there's tons of videos. It can also keep your videos all in one place. I'll be showing you that there's a feature known as playlists where you can take not only your videos, but other people's videos and put them all in one playlist. And so then you have all of this material all in one place that then you can just quickly take the links for and put in Schoology. And then also you can personalize it. So again, there's different features that you can use, and you can make your own videos that then you can upload, again, similar to Edpuzzle. And it can be somewhat interactive. Again, as I've mentioned, for the longer videos, I recommend that you use YouTube, but that doesn't mean that it can't be interactive in some way. And the way that it can be interactive is with lots of different features, which I'll be talking about on the next slide. Some downsides, though, to YouTube is you can't really hold students accountable. Again, there aren't questions that are popping up, and so it's hard to tell, one, if the student's even watching the video, or if they're watching it fully, and two, if they're understanding what's being said. And then also, if ever there is a video, like if you find one and it seems perfectly fine, but for some reason the uploader put content restrictions on it, or said, that this is for ages 18 and up, it will not work on a student's iPad because security and all of that. So keep that in mind, that sometimes students might get an error, and a lot of times it just has to do with the content restrictions on those videos. And so let's take a look. And again, I'm just going to quickly show what it looks like because I'm going to be showing some features a little later. But if you go on YouTube, again, this is what it would look like actually if I go to my content or my channel. It looks like this. So again, this is what it looks like if you have your own account, and if you go to your content, it'll show the videos you have, any playlists that you have, any channels that you might have or are subscribed to. You can do a discussion, but again, use YouTube for kind of holding on to your videos is what I would recommend. And then you can also go to the YouTube Studio, and this is where you would, see how you're doing, how many subscribers you have, any news, things like that. But it is also where you can then go to your content, and it'll show all the videos that you've made, what types of videos they are, things like that. And this is also where, if you are uploading a video, you just go to Create in the upper right-hand corner, and you would say Upload Video. Then you just find the video, and it uploads it. And it'll take you here. Before I get into more detail, though, I'm going to go to the tips and tricks, because it will make far more sense. So, tips and tricks. Move myself again. Keep the videos unlisted is my recommendation. There are 3 settings that videos can be. They can be private, they can be public, or they can be unlisted. If it is private, it means that only you can see it. Even if you give links to people, no one can see it but you. The second one is public. That means that anyone can see it. They can search it up, they can find it, they can watch it. Unlisted, on the other hand, means that the only people that can see the video are those that were given a link. And so the majority of the videos I make, unless it's something that really can be used by anyone and doesn't have, anything that relates specifically to my students or my class, with unlisted, I keep them most unlisted. I put the link on Schoology. Now only my students can see that video because they are the only ones that have access to that link. So I recommend that for your videos, you keep them unlisted. And with YouTube videos, since again, if it's shorter videos, I recommend you make an Edpuzzle. With YouTube videos, have it be more informative work. So again, if you did a Zoom that was going over new content, it's a good way for then if students want to rewatch it, if there was a student that was absent that day, if there was a student that couldn't make the Zoom, it's a nice place that they can go. So I don't recommend for the most part that you use YouTube for assignments, with some exceptions that I'm about to go into. Because there are these very useful features, all of which I will be showing very, very shortly. Again, you can have playlists, which essentially you can put all sorts of videos in one place so it's nice and organized. You have chapters, which breaks up your video. You will see on this video that if you kind of put your mouse on the timer, you can see kind of what plays when. If you go into the description in this video, you will also see timestamps that tell you like what's being covered when. And if you click on those, it'll take you there. Those are the chapters. There are also cards. And what this means is you can insert a video or a link to a video in the middle of your video. So an example is right now. So there should have been something that appeared in this video towards the top, and if you click on it, it'll take you to a different video. So that's a card. And then a very similar thing is known as an end screen. And what this does is it puts a video or a link to a video or a link to subscribe, something like that, at the very end of your video. And using these features, you can get quite creative and actually make an interactive experience for your students. So I'm going to show you kind of how to use these features, and then I'm going to show you an example that I've done for my class. So we're back in YouTube. We're back into my content. And so as you can see, here is the video that you are watching right now. How meta is that? And so once it's uploaded, it will look like this on your screen. And then just by clicking on it, you can be taken into it. And so the very first thing I mentioned is, again, I recommend that you keep them unlisted, because then it means that the only people that can see it is those with the link. Since I'm still modifying this video as you're watching it, I have it unlisted, but I will let you know this will be public. So it is accessible to kind of any of you. You don't necessarily need the link, though I will be providing it. But I'm going to be making this public in the future. But again, it shows you the three options that you have. You can also have an instant premiere. Or you can set a premiere so it doesn't upload until later, but I'm keeping it simple. The next thing I mentioned was the chapters. So again, this just means, and I'm going to show you what it looks like after I've made it, that you can kind of divide up your video. Because obviously if you see this video is 51 minutes long. It's actually a different version of the video you're watching because I needed one to edit. And sometimes that's way too long. And sometimes there's stuff you don't need to know. So, usually you have the introduction, and that starts at the beginning. So, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, introduction. If I recall correctly, very shortly in, I then do where I'm introducing myself. So I'm going to quickly see what time I go to the little bit to know about me. And so at any moment, the video should go to the next page. There we go. So at about 17 seconds, so what I will do then is 0, 17 seconds. It's the about me. And then I'm going to scroll a little bit ahead. Should then, there we go. The schedule, around 1:24. So 1 minute, 24 seconds is the schedule, where I say what I'm going to be going into, and I'm not going to do it for the entire video, but now at 2 minutes and 21 seconds is when I talk about Edpuzzle. So Edpuzzle, what is it? And etc., etc. You can do that for the entirety of your video. And what that will now look like, so if I save it, now I'm going to open it, is what you will see is now it's been divided up at the beginning. So it might be hard to see in this video unless you make it full screen, but there's little dashes. And if you put, let me pause it, your mouse over it, so the schedule is here. And if I go here, it now says About Me. And then at the very beginning, it says Introduction. And if you go into the description, it shows those timestamps. So let's say, you know, I don't care about the introduction. I don't care about learning about Mr. B. I want to see what the schedule is. You click on that. It takes you directly to the beginning of, and it's because I had it paused. There we go. It takes you to where the schedule starts. And then, you know, I don't care about that. Let's start with, ooh, you know, what is Edpuzzle? You click on it, and it will take you right to that part of the video. And so this is very useful if you're, again, if you have this really, really long video, and let's say, you know, a student had to go to guidance, and so they didn't miss everything. They only missed a little bit. This is a very easy way for them to find where they need to go instead of having to, you know, search the whole thing and go through all the PowerPoints. It's just a way of making it more accessible, and therefore your student is more likely to use it. So that's just an example of how to use, again, these are known as chapters. The next thing are cards. And so again, as I mentioned, a card is adding a link somewhere. So I'm trying to think where I talked about cards. Let's see, it's YouTube. Let me quickly hit play to see where it is. My computer is struggling a little bit, so I apologize. Let's just say I want it here. And so at that instance, what I want is for students to, you know, be able to click and, well, again, I'm going to be showing you an example, but I want to take them to a different video. You're then going to add a video. And obviously I have a YouTube example card. I'm going to select that. And so what's going to happen is right at that moment in the video, it's, you know, a suggested thing. I can add a custom message. So, you know, watch this first. Oops. There we go. It finally updated. It's a long video, so it can take a little while to update. So that's the custom message, which these are optional. And then teaser text. Watch me. So what that looks like, again, the teaser text is what it will look like on the video. And so it'll pop up. Again, if I move this just a little bit before, which might take a little bit, it's not there. But then as we get to it, it should, and again, let me just bring it a little closer. There we go. It should pop up. There we go. And so it says, watch me. If a student clicks on it, it'll then show what video it's saying for you to go to. And then if you choose to have a custom message, the custom message is there. And so that's how to do a video card. As a example, well, no, I already gave the example of it, but whatever, I'll do it again. If you want to see another example of a card, just click here. And so it's the same one, but again, it kind of shows what it looks like. The very last thing is the end screen. And so this is something that will only show at the very end of the video. And so you won't be able to see it, but it is here for this video at the very end. And so let's say that I just want you to subscribe to my channel at the end. What I will do is I add an element. You know, I don't want them to go to a different video. I just want them to subscribe. And so now at the very end of my video, a thing pops up that essentially is my channel. And so they can hit it. And it's usually within like the last maybe minute, 20 seconds, things like that. But you can say exactly when to have it pop up. So again, if I want it to pop up at 51 minutes, 25 seconds, now if I play it, it's not there yet. This was informative. And then it pops up. And then you can go over it and it shows that you can subscribe. So that's what an end card is. So how can you use this? The way that I used it in one of my classes is we were learning about sleep and sleep disorders. And so I made a very quick kind of interactive activity where students had to watch a series of patients suffering from a sleep disorder. They were all me. And then they just had to say which patient had which sleep disorder. And so I won't play the entire thing, obviously. But in the introduction, I introduce myself, and then essentially I say that, if you haven't seen the video about sleep disorders, click here. So that's a card. So what I just said is, if you haven't watched the video about sleep disorders, click this button. Now this button's here. If they click on it, it takes them to the video I used in class that teaches them about the sleep disorders. But then, if I go to the very end of the video, oops, what happens is I want to take them to the first sub-patient. And so I say, click this button, and there we go. That's an example of an end screen that then, if you click on it, it takes you to the next video. And so then, you get to see the first patient, you get to see what sleep disorder they might be studying from. Then it goes back to me, where I say, all right, time for the next patient. And then as you'll see, I say, click this button. And then it appears. And so then they click on that, it takes them to the next video. So again, it's just a way of being a little bit more interactive than just watching a video. So now, some general advice, because this video is getting long, and I apologize. So general advice that I have for you. The first one, give these a try. If you haven't used it before, if you haven't used YouTube, if you haven't used Edpuzzle, experiment. Try something. Make a really small video or find a small video. Use these different features. See how it feels. Not everything, like there's so many other things, but again, I only have so much time. So just try things out. And if something doesn't work, if you forgot that you need to assign it to individual classes and, students can't get into it, just breathe. It's a learning experience for all of us, including the students. And sometimes when the students see that you are also learning with them, it helps them to relate to you, and it actually helps to establish rapport. So be honest with them and let them know, I'm trying something new. I might mess up. If so, and the video doesn't play, don't worry. Just let me know, and then you don't worry, and just breathe. If you have tried it out and you absolutely hate it, if you're not a fan, don't use it. Because if you're using something that you don't feel comfortable with and you really don't like it, that can sometimes come across to your students. And it doesn't make them as engaged. So use what you feel comfortable with, but try it out first, I recommend. And then a huge thing that I cannot stress enough, get feedback from your students. The best way of designing a class is what works best for your students, and every student is different. But a lot of times at the end of the Edpuzzles, I'll just say, like, how do you feel about this? Or, if I'm trying a new Edpuzzle out, I'll ask my students, like, what did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you like that there's a question after every minute? Or would you prefer less questions? Ask them. Because then not only do you get to design it in a way that helps them learn, but also students feel like they're a part of the process, and they're more likely to be engaged because they feel like the class is really being catered to them. And then the very last thing, reach out. If you have questions, comments, concerns, again, some of these things I had to go through very quickly, message me. You can email me, you can send me a message right on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube, and I am more than happy to help out. I can Zoom with you one-on-one and kind of show things in more detail. I can show the kind of editing software that I use to make my videos. Reach out to me. I love helping. And then also, watch videos. A lot of how I learned how to do the things that I do for my class is I just Googled. I'm like, how can you add things into a video to make it more engaging? And I found YouTube videos, or I found articles on Google that showed tips and tricks. And, they would walk you through how to do it. I'd experiment, see if I liked it, see if my students liked it. Now I have a new tool in my belt. So you can learn a lot from just Googling, looking up videos. If you're watching this video, then you found it, but obviously I have a video that's kind of going over all of this. If you haven't found this video, or you want to see other videos that I've made, if you just look up Mr. B Psychology, it'll take you to my class. But, because I said that there was going to be an end screen, You should now be able to see my subscription, so you can subscribe to my channel, or you can just click on that and I think it'll just take you to my channel. There's a bunch of random psychology videos. There are music videos about COVID-19, because I kind of went a little stir crazy during distance learning. But hopefully this was a fun video for you. Hopefully it was informative. Again, if not, just let me know. But that is it, and thank you for watching.